দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ আরটিভি নিয়মিত আলোচনা অনুষ্ঠান ফোর্থরাইটে আপনাদের সঙ্গে আছি আমি সৈয়দ আশিক রহমান। এই অনুষ্ঠানে আমরা কথা বলি বিভিন্ন সেক্টরের বিশেষজ্ঞদের সাথে যারা বাংলাদেশ নিয়ে ভবিষ্যৎ পরিকল্পনা ও তাদের অভিজ্ঞতা নিয়ে আলোচনা করেন। আমাদের আজকের অতিথি জাপানের ন্যাশনাল গ্র্যাজুয়েট ইনস্টিটিউট ফর পলিসি স্টাডিজের প্রেসিডেন্ট প্রফেসর তানাকা আকিহিকো। Very welcome, Mr. Tanaka Akihiko at Forthright.
Well, it is my great pleasure to talk to you.
Mr. Akihiko, prior to starting the program, let us watch a video clip on how Japan authority maintained their life into new normal. It's really amazing. Hope we will also be acquainted with this. Mr. Akihito Tanaka, as the president of National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, what are some of the issues you want to address going forward?
Well, as a graduate school of public policy and policy studies, we have been stressing the importance of SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, throughout the world. Many of our students are drawn from the public and private sector, and they are going to become leaders as professionals of policy studies. And so we consider attaining Sustainable Development Goals in as many countries as possible. And so we have been urging our students to conduct study and research toward this goal.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tanaka. People are spending more time at home, and the trend toward remote work and study is expected to continue. What effect will this have on young people's relationship?
Well, there are both negative and positive impacts. Negative meaning that students, particularly in the primary and secondary educations, to have reduced time studying together with other students in person. Fortunately, in Japan, since sometime around summer, that's July, this autumn, primary and secondary educations are conducted in person without relying on online educations. But then in Japan, we are approaching the time of entrance exams of universities in January and February. And we are, in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are in what we call the third wave. And we are worrying if young students can perform well under this very strained conditions, particularly in entrance exams and so forth. But then, of course, there may be positive impact because all of us, including young people, are more or less forced to conduct many things online, and they may acquire capability in the digital society better than in the previous generations.
Then, Mr. Tanaka, what are the adverse effects?
Adverse effects is that the declining amount of in-person communications. For example, many universities conduct classes online, and which is more or less okay in terms of acquiring knowledge. But the college life, secondary school life, is not just simply acquiring knowledge. People need to get interacted with each other in person. And I think this is a bad effect.
Well, thank you. Now the whole world is faced with an unprecedented crisis. Initially, COVID-19 considered a public health crisis. This has quickly become a multidimensional humanitarian crisis. In your view, what is Bangladesh's status to fight against corona pandemic?
You know, under this COVID-19 crisis, I cannot come to your country to get the real feeling of what's happening in your country. So what I can say is only from the data, distributed on the cases. And then according to the statistics that Bangladesh produced, your new cases of infections daily is less than 2,000. And this, I think, in comparison with many other countries, Western Europe, the United States, Bangladesh appears faring better than many other countries. And well, in comparison with Japan too, the daily new infection, less than 2,000, is better than Japan's. We are now having nearly 3,000 new infections each day. Although we have a fair number, limited number of deaths, but I think, so in comparison with other countries, Bangladesh is faring well.
Mr. Tanaka, there is a saying that COVID-19 underlined the urgent need to correct the imbalances in globalization, multilateral institutions, and power structures. After fighting with this pandemic, what do you think on this strategy?
Under this pandemic, unfortunately, each country has to struggle on its own. And I think in many countries, their focus are on their countries. And very few countries are able to think of the global conditions. The first thing that all governments have to do is to protect their people domestically. So domestic condition comes first under the current period. I hope as the world is becoming more normalized with the introduction of vaccines and the number of infection declines, we need to restore international cooperation. The biggest problem under the current circumstances, in addition to the health effect of the COVID-19, the biggest issue is the impact of economic downturn. The United States, Western Europe, and Japan are expected to go through one of the worst economic downturns in the past century. And so this downturn will have adverse effect in various parts of the world, including the developing countries. But in order to restore more normal life globally, we need international cooperation urgently.
Well, thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Since you were the president of JICA, let's talk on some other issue. What is your view on current development of Bangladesh?
Well, before the pandemic comes, Bangladesh was one of the most promising economies in the world. The prospect was very bright. And we found during our work of JICA and cooperation with the people in Bangladesh, we are very hopeful that the country is on track to middle-income country and toward the movement toward the high-income country in the coming years. And then, well, even during this COVID-19 pandemic, the Bangladesh economy appears much better than in many other countries. According to the IMF's World Economic Outlook prospect last October, Bangladesh economy will register positive growth this year and then the coming years too. And so as the world goes out of this pandemic, the prospect of Bangladesh is quite bright. That's a great difference. The IMF's projection of economic growth this year for Japan is a negative growth, along with the Western European countries and the United States.
And we are also very grateful to JICA. Well, Mr. Tanaka, we are really appreciate to your nice comments. Mr. Akihito Tanaka, what are new opportunities of Japanese investment that you see coming up in Bangladesh?
Well, even until now, Bangladesh has attracted a quite number of Japanese investment, particularly in the areas of textiles and apparel. And I believe Bangladesh appears attracting more investment from Japan and from other countries. Somehow, there may be some prospect of the the impact of COVID-19. Under the COVID-19, there is a recognition among business persons of the danger or risk of depending too much on a single country, meaning China. And this, I don't say anything bad about China, but to many companies, it would be better to diversify their investment. And then when they intended to diversify investment, I think Bangladesh would be one of the countries that appear most attractive.
So, what are the diversification needed, Mr. Tanaka?
The diversification, is the diversification for Japanese companies. Japanese companies so far tend to make a lot of investment in China. And then there is a talk about the necessity to think of China plus one. And so,
China plus one.
China plus one appears to be a very promising strategy for many Japanese businesses. And then Bangladesh could become that one.
Well, thank you very much for your comment. Mr. Tanaka, I know you have toured many countries. In your view, after COVID pandemic, what are the changes coming in our daily life?
Well, hopefully we would like to have a normal life that we spent before the pandemic. But I think the pandemic transformed many aspects of our life. And in a positive way, we would anticipate that people would be more comfortable dealing with each other online. But then, globally speaking, I think I said Bangladesh is a very hopeful country and better prospect. But not all countries are like Bangladesh. Many developing countries might be drawn into economic recession because of the current downturn. And so I think the international community should make all sorts of efforts, cooperation to reduce the adverse effects.
So do you think that the international community are doing the right thing?
Well, I hope with the arrival of the new administration in the United States, I hope there is a prospect of better collaboration amongst the United States, Western Europe, Japan, and the developing world. We are very glad, delighted that the United States would not withdraw from WHO, for example. And I think all countries should commit themselves to the cause of international collaboration as we go out of this crisis. To repeat, under the current circumstances, all countries have to mind themselves. But as we somehow get out of this crisis, we need to restore collaboration.
Well, Mr. Tanaka, we are almost end of this discussion. One supplementary question to you, Mr. Tanaka, regarding vaccination. There are also some imbalances. Lower income countries are not being beneficiary on getting vaccine as priority. So how does these imbalances may reduce?
Well, this is a great challenge for the international collaboration. As you said, under the current circumstances, all countries are trying to protect their own citizens first. And so as the effective and safe vaccines are available, but the numbers are limited. And so there we anticipate there is imbalance and lags of distribution of vaccines. But I hope the mechanism of international collaboration, such as COVAX facility, which was created under the initiative of Gavi and the WHO to distribute vaccines to the developing world, I think all countries should make larger commitments to increase the amount of vaccines to be distributed by such international collaboration like COVAX facility.
Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Thank you for being with us. We are really grateful and we really appreciate today's your involvement to our discussion. Hope to see you again in any other discussion.
Thank you.
I wish you good health and Happy New Year.
Well, you too, and with all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. দর্শক, জাপান বাংলাদেশের ঘনিষ্ঠ ব্যবসায়িক সহযোগী, স্বাধীনতার পর থেকেই দেশটি বিভিন্ন ক্ষেত্রে বাংলাদেশকে সহযোগিতার হাত বাড়িয়েছে। এছাড়া অবকাঠামো, আর্থসামাজিক খাতের উন্নয়ন সহ বিভিন্ন ক্ষেত্রে অবদান রেখেছে জাপান। দেশটির ন্যাশনাল গ্র্যাজুয়েট ইনস্টিটিউট ফর পলিসি স্টাডিজ দ্বিপাক্ষিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়নে বিভিন্ন গবেষণামূলক কর্মকাণ্ড অব্যাহত রেখে চলেছে। আজকের অতিথির কথা সূত্র ধরেই আমরা বলতে চাই, করোনা মহামারীর পরেও জাপানের সাথে বাংলাদেশের সম্পর্কের ধারা অটুট থাকুক, সেই প্রত্যাশায় শেষ করছে আজকের ফোর্থরাইট। এতক্ষণ আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।
For more updates, subscribe and press the bell icon on YouTube app and never miss another update.